Dolió, te deberían de ir las nalgas. Se va a caer tu nalguita más atrás para ti.
Next up, Keith, we have some celebration here for 50th anniversary of Daytona. And I believe Mr. Robert Blair from the Ferrari Club, who's a former Daytona owner, can give you some further insights. I know you probably know these cars quite well already, though.
The Daytona was really the last of the front-engine V12 Ferrari monsters of their era. You know, after the Daytona, partly in competition with the Lamborghini Miura, Ferrari went to the box or mid-engine configuration. And although the ultimate performance for mid-engine may be higher, it's not as easy a car to live with as the Daytona. So tell me, Robert, how long ago did you have your Daytona?
Hello everybody. I'm from San Jose, California. I had a Daytona for more than 20 years, all of which were shown here at Italiano, which started off at Quail Lodge, as I remember. You might have seen the car around over the years. It was yellow, very conspicuous color. It was a late car, 5th from last in the US series. And I departed from it about 5 years ago now.
And tell us about the first car we have here.
So the Daytona began life in 1968 at the Paris Auto Show. Looked exactly like this car in front of us. This car in front of us is actually a European model that's been semi-adjusted to US specs. If you know the details of the car, you can see things on the car that are European and things that were done to federalize it. So this car is a little bit of a interesting car, and the gentleman that owns it tells me it's going to belong to his son.
When he turned 16.
When he turns 16. Today he is less than 1. So he's got a little bank account cooking here. So this is a Daytona in red with alloy wheels. Wire wheels were an option at the time, and this car drove up from Los Angeles to the show here today. And so we thank them for bringing the car, and welcome.
Tell us your name.
I'm Mike Goldberg.
Mike. And this is
Mike Los Vandy.
This is your congratulations on your car, and it's going to your son. In 15 years, do you mind, can I have it until then? Oh, I have to get in line behind you, all right. Where's the line? Right over here, right? The line is there, okay. Thank you very much for bringing this car here.
So how many kids inherit a 50th anniversary Ferrari Daytona? Count them on one hand or less.
So were the early cars, did they have the plexiglass band across the headlights? Was that European?
Yes, the first cars had the plexiglass nose. The pop-up headlamps were brought in to serve as meeting the US specifications. A lot of the people like the early 69-70 plexiglass nose with no pop-ups. The lamps are behind the plexiglass. But most of the Daytonas produced to date, which is about 1,260 to 1,280 cars, of which about 120 were spiders cut by the factory. And so most of the cars that are out there today are pop-up headlights.
So this car is a 1973, owned by Leland Yeoman from Bakersfield. Did you drive the car from Bakersfield?
Oh, wow. You don't look like her. I'm not Leland, I'm his daughter. I'm Dana. And Dana. Dana. Yes. And so yes, we drove it up, and it's been getting worked on by Forza Motors, by John, and so he's been doing a great job with it.
Did you have anything exciting happen on the drive up?
Well, on the drive up, it's been a couple years ago, but the clutch was going out, and so had to pull it over at the Denny's and have it towed in. So,
Talking about interesting things, I know one thing about this car and this lady. This lady was born in a year that I'm not sure of, and I don't need to know, but she was driven home from the hospital in this car. So that's pretty much a first, along with the one-year-old that we just saw. This car has a piece of interesting history.
Yeah, so in fact, it was a barn find of sorts in that it was purchased by a Bakersfield farmer, and he decided to buy two because he was in Beverly Hills and he was trying to show off. Reportedly, Cher showed up and he ended up buying two off the showroom floor and gave one to his brother, who was not very impressed with it because the suspension wasn't good on farm roads. And so he let his daughter drive it to high school, and she didn't like it. And so my dad had been courting this guy to try to purchase it from him about 3 years after it was released. And so the day that he was taking my mom to the hospital for me to be born, he gets the phone call from the farmer who says, I think I'm ready to sell this car to you. And he says, well, I'm taking my wife to the hospital to have a baby, but I'll be right there.
So who would have known? $500,000 today, you could have had this for 20 grand at that time.
So thank you very much, both of you, for bringing this car here. Thank you. This is the best baby delivery vehicle I've ever seen. And you must be fully bonded. Your DNA is running right through this car, isn't it? Definitely a part of the family. Thank you, and thanks for being a part of the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Daytona.
Keith, I have a short Ferrari daughter story. There's a certain owner who will remain nameless in Paso Robles who was working on his car and took the doors off to work on them. His daughter, 16 years old, then decided while Dad was out, she'd take it for a joyride.
With the doors